Welcome, BBCers, to episode number 201 of the Broken by Concept podcast, the number one solitude educational and motivational podcast. Curtis, we're in our 200s era.
Yeah, it's going to be a while.
What is this? What do you think? Let's predict the future, Curtis. By episode 300, do you reckon we could define this era? I mean, the obvious one is that, you know, we've launched the We Will Teach You League, the Skool community. We said we're learning all roles, creating programs for all roles, teaching all roles. So I guess by 300, I'd like to think that we're pretty good at teaching top lane, ADC and support, as well as junglers mid. What do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting. I can't listen to the old episodes.
Really?
It's just
I think there's some great stuff in
people
there.
love it.
People love it.
I can't stand it. I really can't.
I always say episodes 50 to 100, we started to get our stride. We were tackling we were doing the big 10, 20%ers that we found in our coaching. Stuff like high intensity.
I mean, look, 0 to 50, we just didn't even have an identity.
Yeah.
I didn't even think we knew what we were about, right? That was just dicking around, really. 50 to 100, we started, like you said, I think started to hit a bit of a stride. We kind of had some pretty good episodes here or there. But I feel like our method of relaying that information was terrible. Like our actual...
The ideas were there. Execution's
not there.
Eh.
And then I think 100 onwards, execution started to get a little bit better. We had more structure.
Yes. That's when we started structuring things. 100 to 200, we started trying to structure the
Better
podcast.
structure.
With the Curtis clip, the mailbag, the Reddit.
Yeah, exact. Summoner School and everything. Like, I think that now we're heading into the meta of now evolving our ideas again, I would say.
Yes.
I feel like, I don't know if you feel like this, but nowadays, and this is kind of, I guess, what we're going to be, some of the topics we're going to be talking about today is I'm now leveling up a lot of my preconceived notions about the game. Like, it feels like I've squeezed the value or juiced everything I can get out of certain ideas and certain concepts. And now I'm looking at what's the next level here. Is there a better way to kind of describe this or teach this? Or is there a better way to get across this particular mindset? And I've been obsessed with really just challenging a lot of my previously held ideas. And so I think for us, this next 100 episodes is, we're going to be learning new things with new roles, but we're also going to be evolving, I think, a lot of our takes on things that we've discussed in the past. Right? One of them recently, we even had a discussion about losers queue and how I don't really believe in the term of losers queue, but I spoke with conviction about how much I loved losers queue before. That's just one example, and there's many, many more. So I think that, we're kind of entering we're leveling up. I think we're leveling up. I think that's just a simple way to put it.
Yeah, I guess this is like a reflection of evolution phase, revisiting, because what we're doing, people may have noticed with our last 10 episodes or so, tackling topics like, we've done a whole episode on topics like tilt, reviewing.
Yeah.
What else did we do?
Champion pools or
champion
something
pool stuff. Yep. So we're sort of forcing ourselves in a way.
We want to continue to do that. We want to continue to do these episodes on big topics. But I want to talk about, just to get the ball rolling here. Learning top has been an interesting experience, right? Now, I never would have thought that things that I've learned in top would have actually directly translated to my mid lane. I thought they kind of would have been different. I thought I would have had my top lane kind of stuff over here, neatly organized, and my mid lane stuff here. And then as we go through the roles, everything would be kind of organized. What I've noticed, and this kind of happened out of nowhere randomly, I was doing a Diana coaching session. Diana has been a challenge for me. It's been a thorn in my side for a long time. There are certain champions that I've just nailed. I know how to teach this champion to a T. I know how to get really insane results. Some of them are just average. And some of them, there's some pain points there. I just know I haven't got the right terminology. I haven't got the mindset down. I can't relay my information well enough. And Dinah was one of them. I kind of can visualize what Dinah needs, but I've never really been able to teach it. Now, we recently did Darius. Okay, Darius. This is kind of for a bit of insight into our process. We're kind of going one champion at a time in terms of we're learning this champion, then this champion. We're going through all the champs, and one of them we did recently was Darius. And I guess we'll have to we'll do a bit of a spoiler here. The mindset or the way we described Darius was we called him the Punisher. Right. And the reason we came up with that is because Darius as a kit, it simply just punishes things around him, whether it's punishing bad wave states, punishing mispositioning, punishing poor tethering, punishing a lack of summoner spells. He can't really force things. You're more
reacting.
You're more like reacting to someone's mistake. You're proactively reacting. You're being proactively reactive to people making errors. And you need to have this mindset of, I'm going to punish this person if they make a mistake. And that mistake could be something big. It could be something small. It could be something like wasting a cooldown on the wave. It's like, wow, this person just used their CC ability on the wave. I'm just going to run at you with my ghost and kill you, right? And so this mindset of a punisher we found was a really great way to kind of get across this mindset. Diana, I found, was remarkably similar, whereby you have this kit where you can't walk around trying to force everything. You got to have this very punishing oriented mindset where if someone's out of position, boom, you're going to strike. If someone messes up a wave, boom, you're going to strike. If someone is overextended or whatever the hell it might be, you've got to have this very punish mindset. And I feel like this term, you're looking to punish mistakes, and this whole mindset around being quote unquote the punisher filled a gap that was missing in my terminology with Diana.
It's like a new category of champion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because Diana is so unique in the way that she plays mid lane. That's why actually I removed her from my below platinum program, because even though her kit is basic, the way she employs the kit is not basic at all, especially as a laner.
No.
It's actually deceivingly tricky. It's deceivingly tricky. A lot of people think Diana's really simple. No.
Well, think about it. You're a full melee champ with... You can technically view E as an escape. It can be used as an escape, but it's not really practically how it's used. And you're fully squishy, right? Like, that's just already a hard champ.
It's a top lane oriented kit, isn't it? It's like you just go one way in. You have no
top
CC.
Lane oriented kit. I think it's more designed for the jungle.
Or jungle, yeah. Because it's like you
avoid.
go one way, but you don't even have like any. I mean, your R's barely CC, right? Let's just pull it as it is. It's kind of low CC. It's basically full damage, no utility. Send it, go in. So you got to know your angles. You got to know your kill threat very, very well. And that's the exact same as Darius, wasn't it? You got to know your limits. You got to know your limits. You got to know how to kill people, when to kill people, but you can't force it. If you force things with a champion like Darius, you'll have some very painful experiences. If you force things with Diana, as you found with probably Diana jungle, you can be absolutely useless. And so what I found was like, I was just in a session. I wasn't even expecting, it came out of nowhere. It just popped into my brain from past experiences with Darius. I'm like, wow. And I went on this huge riff with the client about this mindset shift. And he's like, yeah, I found that really helpful. And so that was just one of my recent kind of, I guess, breakthroughs, if you will, with Diana. And there was another champion as well. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there was another champion that I had another kind of...
From mid or top?
And so another mid champion that I was coaching that had a similarity in the mindset.
Are you talking about Punisher mindset or a new category?
It was also a Punisher mindset. Yeah. And these were champions, again, in the past that I had previously struggled to teach. And I was thinking, holy shit. I wonder what else is going to happen. I wonder what other top lane champs we as we go through them, what else can I use to improve my coaching as a mid lane coach as well, vice versa, right? So it's been really fascinating to expand on my ideas through learning the game through different lenses, and it's also been fascinating to watch myself become a better coach through just learning new things and just evolve as a coach.
When you're forced to learn new things, it really challenges your learning process, because with jungle and mid, we're at the stage where it's just constant refinement. It's not just learning. That sort of forces you to revisit some things with your, our main roles.
100%. Yeah, totally. And
I mean, for me, this is the first time I've properly learned lane. Like, I've never properly learned lane, right? I've only become a really good jungler and like a good ganker and understanding what laners want just from studying, just looking and just a lot of reps and just test and learn, right? And just reading their behavior, their psychology. So I know a lot in terms of how laners want to think, but in terms of the actual execution of what they do, because I don't worry about them trading, in terms of like last seeing, like, when they're full HP, when the lane, is just completely just level 1, right? But getting into that has been really, really interesting.
Yeah, for you. So what do you
big shock, honestly.
Yeah. So what do you think?
But when I went into it though, I was just like a child. Right. I didn't have any preconceived notions or whatever. You know, I definitely thought I was pretty confident in terms of.
I think you were pretty. I think you were pretty naive.
Yeah,
getting into it, to be honest.
Yeah, probably.
But I think so. You know, we've been doing this for quite a few months, right? What would you say? You know, what would you say going back? You know, if you were to talk to yourself, a few months ago, starting this journey, would you warn yourself about things? Would you have shifted your mindset about how you approached to learning these things? Were there things you would have done differently, or maybe not? But is there anything there you would change?
I think it has gone about honestly the way I expected. Like you say, naive. What aspect do you think I was naive to?
Well. Look, no, I think naive in the sense that
like what?
you're gonna be able to, learn top lane in a relatively short period of time.
Okay, maybe I was delusional with the.
I think that you are. You've come a long way.
Yeah.
I think, but I think you're. It's gonna still take a while to get the execution down pat.
Yeah.
You think you know what you got to do.
Yeah,
but it's
that's
just,
literally.
You know what you can visualize it. I can see you get it. You know what you got to do, and you can understand it when it's shown to you. But when it's coming down to the execution, I think that's the biggest challenge for you right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and in terms of, I don't even know where I'm technically placed at the moment because I've played on a bunch of like high diamond accounts, low diamond accounts, had like 30% win rate. Like it's just all over the place. And I'm sort of trying to start a new account from scratch at the moment.
But it's so it's so weird though, because you as a player, like you would make decisions that some of your decisions are going to be incredibly high level and some are going to be like really, really low
it goes
level.
from one
you've
extreme
got, like,
to the other.
Yeah, you've got one extreme to the other. Like,
100%.
wow, you're in like a game-winning position, but then you just make the basic mistake.
Yeah.
But someone that elo would never make that game-winning position. So you've got this very, very unique journey that is unlike any that I've ever seen before. So, yeah, I mean, look, I think it's just time. Right?
If I actually think about the number of games I've got on top, it's probably about 150 games, something like that. Maybe approaching 200. That's nothing.
No.
And
especially spread across multiple champions.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, what I find now, I need to actually double down on one champ and actually just do the whole proper learning of
right.
Because we've been going from one champ to the next every like 2 weeks, making each guide. I think that's really hindered my progress a lot. So now once we've sort of really stabilized a little bit, now bam.
Okay.
And I'm really gravitating, by the way, towards Darius and Mordekaiser, by the way.
Okay.
I just like having control of the game from the get-go. That's like how I played Rek'Sai.
Mordekaiser was my favorite so far.
Jarvan. Well, Mordekaiser's the opposite. He's scaling, right?
Yeah.
And Darius is like full control from the get-go.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, kind of, right? I guess it depends on the matchups, of course. But yeah, for the most part. What do you like about Mordekaiser out of interest?
I like the way he fights. I just like being like a brick wall, dude. Like the electric fence mindset we're talking about, right?
I think Mordekaiser suits our skill set though as well because it's about being in the right place.
Yeah,
if you're in the right place,
that's what it is.
That's what I found. With
I think
Mordekaiser.
It's the executions. I like it because he's not that execution reliant.
No,
that's why I like him. Like I'm confident in mid game,
but it also scales with how good you are at the game. I feel like because who you are and when you are someone
super important timing,
is incredibly game changing. Like I just win games with good R's.
Yep.
I think Mordekaiser was my favorite of out of all of them we've done so far. It's the one that I just loved. I had so much fun and I clicked with it. Had so much success with it. Darius grew on me a lot though.
Darius is because Darius.
I hated him at the start so much.
Yeah, me too. Like because it's just like the Rek'Sai mind. Like the way I win games through just early game, just playing, like trying to perfect the early game. That's what I love.
And you can. It's in your control. You can perfect the early game. And you can get snowballing out of control.
Yeah,
true. It does suit that mindset.
So I'm saying, who knows? Maybe that will change in the next month or so. But I mean, yeah, technically we've been playing top lane for 2 months, 3 months. It's like 3 months.
Not very long.
Yeah.
This episode is sponsored by mid.gg. Now, they've listened to your guys' feedback. The feedback that you guys gave was, where are all the Korean streamers? How can I watch Faker? How can I watch Chovy? How can I watch Deft?
I want to watch the best players in the world.
And they've listened, guys. They've listened. So now what they've done is they've integrated majority of the Korean pro players onto the platform. So here I can go ahead, type in Faker, and then boom, here I can already take a look at all of Faker's recent VODs. If I want to look at Chovy's VODs, I can click here, type in Chovy, boom, I'm already here looking at Chovy's POV VODs, which for those of you who have actually tried to find these VODs is actually a pain in the ass. And especially for streamers who are not already natively streaming on Twitch, who stream on a Freaker or some of these other kind of platforms, it's really, really hard to find them. So they've done a really great job of integrating these ones straight onto the mid.gg platform.
You can sort by champion, matchup here. As we can see, Chovy, obviously he's at MSI right now. So 2 weeks ago he streamed. He's been playing a bit of Aurelion Sol, Hui. You can look at his build runes. Everything's in here. Head over to mid.gg or link in description of this video. Download the app and get to learning some matchups.
So moving on, I had this interesting thought, Nathan. I want to kind of get your take on a few things here. So okay, the game has changed a lot, Nathan, from when we first played. Every single year, the game is evolving. And the game we play now in Season 14 is barely even recognizable from what it used to be in Season 3, 4, 5, 6. And, you know, something I've observed is that there is a particular trend in terms of what makes a good mid lane champion now. Now, I'm going to go on a bit of this whole section. I want to preface it by saying it's going to be more directed towards the higher elo brackets. I think it's interesting for people at all ranks to understand this, but I think it's going to be primarily directed at, say, Diamond 2+. And I want to kind of have this discussion. So what I found upon observation is that there's 3 characteristics of a kit that makes the champion like, wow, like really good. Specifically, I mean, at all elos, but let's say specifically for high elo play solo queue. The first one is its ability to get priority. Priority, I feel like, is even ramped up in importance since just the introduction of grubs. It just feels good to have priority in the early stages, like levels 1 to 9. Now, it's not essential, but it feels nice. It's a good quality to have in a champion. Now, having control. This is also, you see this in terms of popularity with a lot of meta champions at the moment, like things like Hui. They just get a lot of prior. They win a lot of matchups. They can brute force prior. They've got that lane bully oriented identity. They can get a lot of shit done early. You think of a lot of the meta champs like Tristana, Hui, Zia,
Tristana, I understand. Can you quickly explain Hui?
Hui is an early lane bully who transforms into just like a team fighting champion.
But so is it hard to dodge the skill shots? Like, how does
it's incredibly strong in the early lane because the skill shots are just really hard to dodge.
Well, they just do a lot of damage.
You have a lot of wave clear, and it does a lot of damage. Think of it as like a better Orianna. Honestly, it's just like a better Orianna.
Interesting.
Orianna's like a lane bully. Yeah. Hui's the same. You're a lane bully, but your damage, in my opinion, is just better. Just a better champion, honestly, than Orianna. Okay, so that's one characteristic, priority, right? Number 2, the second characteristic that I've found is very useful is wave clear. Wave clear is massive in League of Legends, and it's really caught me off guard in terms of how important it can actually be in a kit. You really feel it when you play champions that don't have wave clear into champions that do, and it impacts both your early game and your mid game. Your ability to catch sideways and shove and move. When you play Annie in high elo games, even if you can have impact in fights, your transitions and your ability to get to fights is so severely limited.
Painful
because you just can't clear
takes
waves.
Ages to clear waves.
Clearing waves is just such an important part of a kit. And this is why I said Static Shiv, when it was at its peak, was the most game-busting mechanic because it gave champions that didn't have wave clear like LeBlanc access to wave clear, which completely broke the game.
It's important to note when it comes to like wave clearing, people are like, oh, well, I'm sure an Annie can definitely wave clear. Fine, but it's like the 1 second, 2 second difference is
a lot.
Game changing.
It's the same with jungle, right? The ability to clear camps.
Just a little bit faster.
Clearing camps, right? As a jungler, like speed of clearing camps makes a hell of a lot of difference.
And we're talking about like in terms of your first clear, I guess we're talking about like, a 10-second difference in full first clear. Maybe that's not a good example, but yeah, it adds up. It adds up. It's massive. And that it has been what's dictated the jungle meta for many, many years is clear speed.
And speed and tempo, right? Yeah. You can't create speed and tempo with poor clear speed. And it's the same in mid. You can't... It's so difficult to get to places and get good resets and get to fights without having wave clear. So you've got 2 characteristics so far. Just to recap, you've got priority, ability to get priority, and wave clear. The third one, and this is the big one, is ability to side lane. Okay, so what I've found, so I'm going to kind of speak you through a few things here. So side laning.
So what are the categories that I guess make
Okay, so let's talk about side landing here for a second. So what I mean by that is ability to just navigate the side, whether that be out dueling and getting prior in the side, and actually having strength in the side lane. So you think of champions that are really good in the side, like who can play side. You think of champs like, you think of like things like Yasuo or Yone. They can dominate side. It's really hard to push them out of side, like Aurelia. Things like these are champions that can duel in the side. But tying back to the meta champions, a lot of the champs like Tristana, Zia, Talia, like a lot of these champions, even Corki, things like that, they can shove and they can move. They can out-duel people in the side lane. And that makes a massive difference. Your ability to get prior in the side lane in the mid game changes your entire ability to, get to fights, make picks, make people react. You know, when you play jungle, Nathan, you're in the mid game, and your mid laner can't shove side. And maybe you're true losing side. Maybe your top lane is losing prior and your mid lane is using prior. And the only people who have prior is maybe your AD carry and support mid. The game feels really tricky.
It's more about top. When the top laner, because the top laner can 1v2.
I don't know what it feels like for a jungler, but
it's really interesting. You talking about champs like Corki and Talia and stuff. I mean, I guess it's the sort of level of the player, but I couldn't care less about a Corki. I guess this is from a jungler's perspective,
right?
Because a good jungler should be impacting. Like, those are the people I'm killing,
right?
I'm not going to kill the Yone who's 4-0, right? He'll just 1v2, but a Talia who's 4-0, easy to kill. A Corki,
there's levels to it, right? There's obviously levels to it. Obviously,
I get with my mid laner, right? So let's say I actually like it when my mid laner is weak because they're getting pushed in and then bam, it's free kill. I know that they're going to be always aggressive.
Assuming that you're able to get that kill, right? Yeah. Assuming you're able to get that kill. But I want to paint a situation. Let's take a champion like Lux or Orianna or some of these more traditional major, Nivea, things like that, right? Imagine that person is facing a Tristana who's permanently shoving them in the side lane and making them react to waves at tier 2. It's your ability to side lane is I would say a combination of many things. I would say you need to be able to, like, I guess, survive jungle ganks. You need to have some sort of mobility. Safety. You need to be able to, like, clear waves. You need to be able to potentially duel. Like, they're all factored in, I guess. Side lane's a bit of a multifaceted thing. If your champion can get pressure in the side and shove, it makes the game so much easier because you're dictating the game. They're reacting to you at all times. You can move, you can spot the jungler, you can make a play mid, you have first move to the objectives. Let's take a champion Lux. If I'm reacting to a side wave in mid game, even if I'm strong, even if I've got damage, how do I actually get to the objective?
As Lux.
How do I actually get there?
Yeah.
I'm 110% reliant on my jungler, or I just have to sack waves and then move to the objective. Now, this is going to tie into my big point here. The game has evolved. And why I say that is that in the past, this didn't matter as much because it almost felt like if you were to group, it almost felt like the enemy were incompetent to the point where you could usually make a play. You could engage on them. The enemy would mess up. People were really bad at playing with people in the side lane.
And playing a champ like Lux would be way more comfortable in those type of situations than having to side lane and move around the map.
Exactly. Because champions in the side, like if you play the side lane, you have to assume that your team knows how to play with a champion that can navigate the side lane. They might have to respect sometimes. It's like, well, that person's A-ramming. That Lux is now A-ramming. You have to trust that say I'm a Tristana on the side that's shoving in the Lux. The laser of the Lux has ditched a wave and just gone mid. I have to trust that my team mid isn't going to fight. They're going to back off and wait for me to get pressure and they to make the enemy sweat and maybe I pressure tier 2 or maybe the Lux then moves and then I move. You know what I mean? Like there's an element of like the players are better now and the game has evolved where people are more conscious of this. People won't just randomly engage like a 3v4 or get engaged upon. They're way more they're smarter about the game. And so I had this game in solo queue that really because I've been observing it in solo queue in a lot of my client sessions, and I actually had it in my own experience where I was playing, I think I was versing like Roma or something. It was like one of those players like he was like it was either Harry or Roma, one of them. And I was playing Lux into his Tristana. And I farmed well, 10 CS per minute, doing everything I can. We just went even in lane. Had tempo a few times. He had tempo a few times. Pretty chill. The moment the game opens up and I get to the side lane, it's insta-lose.
It's
hard.
Over.
Yeah. How do I play the game? No. I cannot play the game. I'm sitting at Lux under a tier 2 bot. The jungler can't kill it. No, but the jungler can't even kill a Tristana.
Yeah.
So what happens? The game explodes. If the jungler can't kill
Wait, because
Because
you're not
Tristana's so
unreliable.
mobile.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And you're not going to throw a Q. You're not even
Yeah, hell, I'm never going to hit him.
It's
He's
basically a
buff my Q
1v1.
anyway.
Yeah.
So the jungler is you're because the way you're not you're thinking of it, you're thinking of I can just kill that mid laner. What happens if you can't?
Yeah.
The game implodes because I'm strong. I can kill shit. I can't even get to the play to get my damage off because I'm always reacting to waves.
So you've been thinking more about, again, this is high elo.
High elo,
right?
yes.
What makes actually a good champion in the current climate,
landscape, whatever you want to call it.
The current League of Legends economy.
Yes. Yeah.
What makes a good champion and how it's evolved over time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I never would have given that a second thought back in the day. Like even a few years ago, it's like, whatever, I get it, lose prior on the side, whatever. Because I would feel confident that the game is chaotic enough that I could group mid and I could make something happen. Or maybe they were incompetent. They wouldn't be able to punish me on the side enough or whatever. No, that doesn't work anymore. This is why if you go to the Korean solo queue ladder, by the way, everyone has the exact same champ pool. If you sort by the top rating and go down, the mid laners all play Hui, Tristana. It's like Hui, Tristana, Azir, Hui, Tristana, and then a bunch of Corki or Ari or like Talia. It's just the same champs. Yeah. It's just the same champions. There's no hipsters and there is hipsters. I'm gonna be careful here. There are Lux OTPs. There are Zoe OTPs. There are people amazing OTPs. But my point is that those champions are very, very, very hard to play, and that you have to go to extreme lengths of mastery to make them work. And you can, but they're objectively worse. That's my point. They're objectively worse than a Tristana.
Because once it gets to the mid game, it explodes.
Yeah. And so you have to really, really be good in your early game when you play those champions to make them.
Can't make mistakes.
You can't make a single mistake. Yeah. And that's why the best players are drawn. If you look at all the best players, they're drawn to they're the meta champions for a reason. They are the most effective champions. But it got me thinking why. And that's the 3 categories I've boiled it down to. And I've now realized, wow. Yeah, okay, it makes sense why everyone plays those champions. Because I can play, I played it, I didn't play it perfectly, right? Obviously, Yozu, right, the number 1 Lux in NA would have played it significantly better than me. But that is the difference. You have to really, really min-max your early lane because otherwise you're just going to lose in mid-game. So, and it just got me thinking, it's like, what's the future going to be like? And does this mean a lot of champions are just slowly over time going to be phased out? Like you know what? A thought loop that I got into recently was, oh my god, if everyone's getting better, does that just completely make certain champions useless? Does that mean certain champions are just never going to be played at a high level anymore? Is that just the way the game is going to be? I don't know. I maybe I'm wrong, or maybe Riot is just going to update those kits. And I want to use this as a case study, Corki. Think about what Riot did to Corki. Corki did a complete 180, like ASOL, right? Think about OG ASOL. OG ASOL was a full early game, right? And then they made him full scaling. Corki was full scaling, and now he's basically did a 180, he's full early game now, right? Early to mid game. Now, think about Corki's kit. What the fuck is that?
Yeah, what is that?
What? They would never make that kit now. Yeah. And it almost feels like they've got this completely messed up kit, and they're all scratching their heads at Riot headquarters. What do we do here?
Yeah, how do we even make this work?
How do we make this work? And now what they've done is they've said, okay, well, we're going to make him this early game prio powerhouse. But just think about it. You've got damage on your Q. You've got a bit of mobility on your W. You're like a glorified Draven. It's just weird. It's I remember I'm playing it. I've been playing the new Corki. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Why would this be a mid champion? It's just weird. You want the champion to build crit, but in order to deal damage with your ultimate, you have to build lethality. But they don't really want Corki to build lethality. From what they've been saying, they want it to build crit. But then you're building a full crit item a crit champion that plays early with Halo Blades and shreds resistance that gets. It's what the fuck is this? It just doesn't make sense to me. Now we're now at a place in time where Tristana and Corki and all these champions, it's just weird. It's I don't know. It's almost like the game has evolved, and having your ability to get prior, have wave clear, do these boxes, have kind of shaped what people play and how people perceive the game in this weird warped reality. I don't know. Maybe I'm just delusional because I'm an old school player, but it's just I can't imagine that this is the way Riot thought the game was going to go.
Yeah, I guess there's no way they could have predicted it. I'm just going to quickly look at MSI 2024. Just from, again, I'm trying to think of it from a jungle's perspective. Like, you think about champs, like, have they touched, like, Xin Zhao Vi? They've been, like, the same for a long time. I just want to see what were the champs. Actually, let me just go to the series. What was it? BLG versus, whoops.
Oh, you want to go to this final, see what they played?
BLG versus Gen G. Because, jungle's just, at the end of the day, it's about playing the map, and just being, strong early has always been the highest.
Here? This third one?
Yeah, this one here. It's mute.
So this is competitive as well, right? You got to remember there is a slight difference between, a pretty big difference between competitive and solo queue.
You always see the Sejuani pop up and stuff. So this one was
Xin Zhao
and Karthus. So, and Karthus, that was like a neat bit of a niche pick there, right? And then this one here was
Sejuani.
Sejuani, right? Like, it's like, right? These have been the same chance for
years. Orianna still played a lot, right? Yeah.
And your Orianna hasn't really been majorly updated, right?
Dude, Orianna's exactly the same.
Exactly the same, right? Yeah.
Identical.
So Xin Zhao, and then the next one
Nidalee.
here was Nidalee.
Lee Sin.
Right? And this is the recent, it's like in terms of like the game update, right?
Yeah.
So Nidalee Lee Sin, and that was before
True,
Zero,
mid
right?
has actually changed a lot more than jungle.
Yeah, like,
in a way,
you
right?
think about those drastic changes, like Tristana mid popping up, and like Aurelion Sol that we, saw in the tournament. I mean, I guess Azir, the Rise and stuff.
Apparently, right now in
the Rise was updated, upgraded.
Yeah, Rise is a mess.
He is.
I think he's a mess.
It's a struggle.
But anyway, I've heard nowadays that Corky's like pick ban in competitive,
For
like on the
ADC.
rework. It was because it's a flex.
Flex makes
It's like a
sense,
flex
yeah.
mid
Flex
bot.
champs always do really well in competitive.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's just interesting, and it just gets me thinking: what's the evolution of these mid lane champs going to be? Where is it heading? Now, and again, I want to just say, to make it very, very clear, I'm not saying all these other champs aren't viable. You can play whatever the hell you want, but I'm just saying what makes the most effective. We're talking about what's the most effective champions.
That was the thought experiment.
That's the thought experiment.
Yeah, and mid game's a massive part of the game.
Mid game is a huge part of the game, like a massive part of the game. And that's what I found out. I've really, really found out that, and that's, again, you look at, and Azir, that's why Azir, out of a lot of the majors, Hui is kind of like the outlier, because Hui is just so good at, like, so much utility, so much early prior, so much wave fleet. He like does the first two so well that he kind of mitigates the third one, I guess, a little bit. And his team fighting is just so amazing. But Azir is a champion. He's a mage that can play side, because you have the turret as well, and you can shuffle away. You have mobility.
Azir's scary to fight.
Yeah, he's scary, and he can actually duel. Like, he
Yeah.
can actually do everything. That's why Azir actually is that as well. That's why you say the same champs. But yeah.
Out of curiosity, this quick topic. When do you define when mid game starts? Is it when the first tower breaks? Is it when you get your first item spike?
Mid game.
What's your definition of mid game?
I would say it's when the lane assignment swap up. Like when a tower breaks. So, like, for example, when bot breaks and then they swap mid, and then now you're in mid game. I would say that's because it's on items.
Yeah, it's interesting. I heard a perspective from someone,
Isn't it?
about getting your first item spike is when mid game starts.
I don't really think that's the case, because they're still in lane. It's as long as the lane phase is going on.
Yeah.
You're not in mid game. Mid game is defined by, because the map opens up, and that's when it's less about lane. Because the only reason lane phase is because there's towers there, right? No one wants to move around because there's towers, and if you move, you'll lose your tower. So mid game is defined by, okay, once the towers break, lane assignments swap, you're not tied to the lane anymore, and everyone's moving everywhere.
Yeah.
That's, I think, what's logical to me.
Yeah, that was my definition as well. I just never heard the definition about someone. Yeah, said that it was
Items, like getting
the
your first item.
Yeah, completion.
I think, honestly, you can get to first item and you can still be late lane. I call it late lane.
Yeah. Maybe that just happens to be the way that he defines it, is that just happens to be when the tower's broken around that time anyway.
Yeah.
But I thought that was interesting, because I could sort of see it. Like, you start fighting differently. People get this a bit stronger. Like, it doesn't feel like an early game. But I think it is, just simply put, where the first tower breaks. Or yeah, again, when the lane assignments move, which should be when the first tower breaks.
Yeah. I want to also, have you Okay, we haven't spoken about this, but have you found that, have you had a lot of people complaining about rank recently?
Rank, you mean their experience in the games, like negative win rates
No,
and
just
stuff?
the actual, I guess they are lower ranked than they were.
Yes, yes.
Have you found that?
Yeah.
Wow, me too.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and so I've got a theory.
Yeah.
I've got a theory that they've actually tried to reduce inflation. So I found like a lot of people are significantly lower than the rank that
I have
they
a lot
were.
of my master players that are just like flat out like
Diamond and shit.
struggling. Yeah, diamond.
Same.
Yeah.
And I've got people like who are in gold or in like fucking bronze or something.
Really? That's extreme.
Like extreme.
Wow.
I had people in emerald or in gold
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
So I think what they've done, again, I'm just, this is speculation here.
Yeah.
I think that
I was just waiting. I was just like, it's the first couple of weeks of the season. It will just stabilize eventually. You're not seeing it because I'm actually starting to it's actually not starting to stabilize.
yeah,
for me. I'm like,
that's the thing.
Usually it stabilizes
Usually
quicker.
it does.
It's quicker.
So my theory is that yes, there is an element of that. People would need to get reps in, but people have been getting reps in, and they're still way lower than what they were. So I do feel as though there has been some effort on Riot's part to reduce inflation, and maybe.
Well, they did mention that in that article. What was it? Episode 199. We went over it or whatever.
And I think it's really coming into force now.
Yeah.
And so. It was interesting. I was actually not sure what your answer would be. I thought it might have just been my Midland Academy. Maybe I'm just a shit coach.
Yeah, no. That's good to know that it's because I have a lot of people who's like just flat out like really bad negative win rates.
Yeah.
And the matchmaking, I don't know. Maybe there's something going on there as well.
Yeah, I've seen some things as well. So, look, I don't want to start a pitchfork at everyone in comments saying, yeah, that's why.
Yeah, and this uses ammunition.
But I would be interested to hear.
Yeah.
People in the comments who maybe not in our communities, have you felt the same thing? Are you observing the same thing with people in your friendship group or yourself or whatever? Yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
I mean, at the end of the day, guys, make sure we're reviewing our games. Look at the
the
mistakes
gameplay
we're
is the
making.
gameplay. I'm with you. The gameplay is the gameplay. But, we're a human after all. And if you were definitively, let's say you knew you were a solid 300 LP master player or something, and now you're like actually struggling in like Diamond 3 or something, that's weird.
That doesn't feel good.
That doesn't feel good.
You are right. And in terms of that human aspect, like something is not adding up there from your narrative.
Because you always want to go up in rank, right?
Yeah.
You always want to be like, well, I was there and I was definitively, I want to go higher than that. If you're not even getting remotely close to where you were, that's going to play on your mind, right? So there's definitely something there, I reckon.
All right. Should we jump into Skool now, Curtis?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So this week's post was one made by you, Curtis.
I'll get this up on my phone as well, actually.
And you titled this one, The Biggest Mistake on Your League Journey. So we had a lot of engagement here. We had 140 comments.
I love this. I was so fascinated because I think that there's so much learning to be had.
It's a great
from
thread.
failures.
Yeah.
And you can avoid a lot of painful experiences by reading other people's failures.
How cool would it be to be like a new player, join in the Skool community and just like reading this? It's like, wow, that's interesting.
Do you want to just do one by one? I'll do one, you do one. We'll do like one each?
We'll do one each.
All right, so we'll start with the top, I guess. I'll go this one here. My biggest mistake was being inconsistent in my games. At times, it was hard to stay motivated as I was too caught up in the wins and losses. If anyone is struggling with something similar, I found it helpful to focus on what I could have done better in the game. So I'm assuming he's referring to, he just felt like he was struggling, in terms of his performance, but he was getting so caught up in the wins and losses that he wasn't actually able to focus on the learning. Is that what he means?
No, I mean, just the first line here. My biggest mistake was being inconsistent in my games. The word inconsistency to me actually is about just your level of play, because you have games that everything sort of just goes your way and it looks like you're playing well, and then the games that you're going to struggle with, you label them inconsistent, but really you just you're not at the skill level to solve those problems. I think the word inconsistency in the league community is thrown around and people actually don't know how that impacts, like why they're inconsistent. Like, you know what I mean? I guess you could definitely.
So what do you mean? What? How do you? If someone? Okay. So what does being inconsistent mean to you?
Okay. Again, jungle perspective here. I'm playing.
Well, now you can talk from a top perspective.
We'll do jungle first.
Okay.
I'm playing Karthus, and I get I get my first full clear off, and I'm going top to bot. I get a double kill bot or one kill. I don't get contested by the jungle because the jungle's pathing the opposite side of the map. And then I'm able to get a perfect reset, and then I can just snowball the game, just do another 3 full clears, and there's no interruption, right? Easy problems to solve. And then the next game, and again, this person might label their games inconsistent, where now they're full clearing top to bot, and they meet the enemy jungler as Xin Zhao, and they don't have the jungle track in fundamental or whatever. They just didn't even know that they were matching, even though they clearly saw a leash. Or the bot lane strong guy, it's a Smiro Nautilus, and he's got a Milio, I don't know, Milio Sivir or something like that, right? And then they end up losing the 3v3 bot. Like, you could easily say,
right,
I'm inconsistent player because I have beautiful early games, but really it's just we're lacking the problem solving skills and the fundamentals.
Well, they are inconsistent, but inconsistency is just like it's just like a very high level term. It's not practical.
Yeah, it's not practical at all because it's just thrown out.
It's just thrown out. I see what you mean. It's so specific. Yeah, inconsistency can come from so many places. Like you said, it could come from just missing a fundamental, right? It can and we say that mid and top, like you say that top, right? Let's say a fundamental top would be you just miss reset windows, right? And so some games you might get punished for it. Some games you may not get punished for it, right?
Yeah, you get away with it.
Yeah, you get away with it. But I think that so you're missing a fundamental. You could be inconsistent in terms of like your mindset. It's like you just get tilted. So some games you do get tilted, and then you do get tilted, you lose your mind, and you just give up. And
that's where it could be the inconsistency type thing. Yes, I would say it's more for that, in terms of your emotional state.
Yeah, but that's just another factor. I think they're both inconsistent. Your gameplay, because think about it, your gameplay is inconsistent. What is you got to remember? I can see where you're coming from. You're getting confused between. There's no inconsistency because there was never consistency in the first place, is what
That's
you
right.
mean.
Yes, exactly right.
But the way I'm framing it and the way you want to think of it, Nathan, is their gameplay is just inconsistent because they're missing things.
I see. Okay.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So their gameplay in terms of like what's actually going to happen is inconsistent because they're missing shit in their game, whether that be their fundamentals, whether it be their matchup understanding, whether it be their mindset. They're all contributing factors what leads to having inconsistent gameplay.
Yes, okay, I see.
Yeah, but I see what you mean. The reason why you don't like this term in this context is that they're assuming that they even had the skill in the first place. But they never had the skill in the first place. They were never going to be consistent. They were never going to be consistent anyway.
In that game.
Yeah, in that game, exactly right. So I think that to tie it back to his I guess the quote here is like he's saying regret was that he wasn't actually focused on the learning, right? He was so focused on the wins and losses, but the wins and losses don't mean shit.
Yes.
If you're not yet. Okay, I get it.
Absolutely.
You do the next one.
Daniel here says, my biggest mistake was probably jumping to meta champs that I don't even enjoy with hopes that I will climb improve more that way. I'm already enjoying the game more, focusing on my style. I enjoy playing while also finding success, even in Master Plus. You don't have to play S-tier champions if you find out how to play hard matchups and adapt your champ to be able to play in more chaotic games, for example.
This is honestly just like, if you could save someone making that mistake, imagine how much time you would save them.
Yeah.
Like someone reading that could save hundreds of hours like in their journey if they actually embraced it.
It's also the easiest mistake to make in League of Legends because, you look at the pro scene.
Yep.
And you look at the top players in the solo queue ladder and you look at win rates.
And it's the easiest thing. It's the most convenient Band-Aid solution.
And people do get massive results playing their flavor of the month meta champions, right?
They can, yeah.
And then where your journey really explodes is that the champion gets nerfed. You've built all this mastery on this champion and you were playing it for the wrong reasons. And then suddenly now you are going down a lot and then your view of the game sort of distorted and you sort of mentally explode. That's where the danger comes from playing the S tier champions in the given meta.
Yeah, we got next one here from Victor. My biggest mistake was falling victim to the beliefs of the narratives and thinking that the game is a team game. Well, yes, it is, in a sense, a team game. You are capable of doing more independently than if you try to play wholly as a team. Might be just a top lane mentality thing, but I've had more success with my journey making singular decisions than making decisions based off of what the teams are trying to do. I still feel like this is a statement that needs more clarity, but in essence, if the team is behind, but you're ahead, and they want you to fight for the second or third dragon, you'll have more success if you just take turrets than if you coin flip your lead going with them. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I would have resonated with this post if it wasn't for our top journey. I felt that a lot. Like, okay, so me and you specifically. So Charlie, so it's me, Charlie, Tim, and you doing the thing, the Top Lane Academy, right? Me and you had this massive focus at the start of our journey on just like grouping for objectives.
Map impact, yeah.
And we were just delusional. We were wrong. We realized, and thanks to, Charlie really corrected us on this, is that you got to get yourself strong.
You got it selfish.
You got to be selfish as a top laner. You do. You actually do. Now, obviously, leagues are game of specifics. There's a lot of specifics at play here, right? Sometimes you're a Mordekaiser and you can't do anything, and you do need to be at that dragon. I get it. But as a general mindset, you need to get yourself very strong as a top laner.
Is that not the same as mid though? Why did that take you long to? Because for a jungler,
it's different for mid. It's different for mid a lot, because mid lane, a lot of mid laners can't get shit done in the side. A lot of them. There are a handful like Echoes and stuff that can actually get towers and stuff, but a lot of top laners can get towers. Like, think about, like, you have Jax, you have Fiora, you have Garen,
yeah. So the
list goes on.
Itself, yeah.
You don't have options. And also on top of that, a lot of mid laners have utility. Okay, think about it. The major two categories of mid laners are mages and assassins. Mages and assassins need to use their strength around neutrals to kill shit.
Assassins aren't hitting towers.
No, they're not hitting towers. Most assassins. Yeah. Yes. So, as a mid laner is kind of different. But again, I do think that, to really simplify it though, League is not really a team game. You got to get yourself strong. And when you get yourself strong, then you can help the team later on by being a behemoth of a champion and drawing a lot of pressure and creating leads through you.
Yeah. But again, it's always not black and white, because there is times where you are the strongest member. You actually should impact that dragon fight, because you'll clean up. It's actually high percentage.
But I think that I really want to cut Victor some slack here, because I like the message.
Yes,
it could be cleaned up.
The message, very important.
It could be cleaned up, but I think that what we should take away from this, Nathan, is that we do see a lot of people come into our programs to say they think that League is a team game and they got to help everyone and run to every play and be there for every single play. And then they're just losing waves. They're sacking waves, or in your case, I'm assuming skipping camps, and they're just becoming piss weak. Yeah. And that loses you games. Yeah. So I do resonate with that.
100%. It's an important mindset you need to get across for sure. Especially top lane. Certain jungle champions, like I've just made a Diana guide recently, and the mindset is being extremely selfish. You have to be extremely selfish. Just take everything you can against jungle opportunities. But if you're playing a champ like Jarvan and Zhao, it's a little bit less, of that. So it depends on sort of your journey.
And then I would also say as well, we would prefer you go from being selfish first to the other way around, rather than... Like, if you just
really hard to teach a person the other way around.
Exactly.
I talk a lot about the support syndrome mindset. Players that are support that have transitioned to jungle, they really struggle to fight and know when to give up. Just let their teammates die and just go take counter jungle some of their camps or trade objectives or something like that.
And even in our top lane academy, I would rather people just even miss opportunities to group just to be a selfish bastard.
Know what it feels like.
Like, know what it feels like to be like an incredibly strong Darius, Garen, whatever. Like, I want to see that, and you feel that. And then, you might lose the game. That's okay. We can work on those rotations later on, But that's way better than the other way around.
We've got Fang here, who's currently number 1 on our leaderboard. He's from Soul 2. Got to shout out Fang there for that. He's been fiercely competing with Srirachi.
Yeah, I think she's actually on a holiday at the moment, so that's why she can't compete.
No. Fang's got I did not know that. Fang's got an edge. Fang here says, playing too much without any structure. Typically play in blocks of 2 to 4 now. Absolutely. I think maybe for a lot of people, my students, is playing without structure for too long. I think initially when you play the game, structure is, it's like a bit of a job or a bit boring. Like, you got to... I think it's great when you start playing the game, and you just have so much fun with the game, and you spend like those days, like playing 10 hours a day type thing, Like, I think that's an important part of your journey. So I think it depends where you are. Once you become more of a mature player, the structure, the 3-block process, everything we talk about is going to be so important for you getting results. But yeah, I think in the early stages, it's actually you shouldn't have structure in terms of how you're how many games you're sort of playing. I assume he's talking about how many games he's playing, not actually about his gameplay specifics.
Yeah, I agree. I think earlier on, you got to get the reps in. And it's okay to be a bit messy. I don't want to see crazy note-taking or anything like that at the start. Just get the reps in. It's important. I've got... Okay, let's take a look at some of these are pretty funny. Okay, we got... My biggest mistake was being inconsistent and taking massive breaks from the game, even when my relationship with the game was good. When I do play consistently, I notice steadily improvement and slowly climb, but then I'll just forget about the game for like 4 months, and when I come back, I'll almost be back to where I started. That's a big one.
It is.
You do need to, like... League is not a great game to just be on and off.
No.
You really do have to stay... You don't have to play a lot. You don't have to be a maniac. But you do want to kind of be consistent. It is one of those games that rewards consistency.
Yeah, that's why we've gotten I've gotten lots of results for people that just play 1 3-block a day, for a long period of time. And, you'll be surprised how much you can get done in League with your improvement in just that structure. 21 games a week or whatever it is. What was I going to say here? Oh, I just lost my train of thought.
Yeah, that's all good. Moving on. You want to go check to another one?
Next one here was setting unrealistic goals for myself, such as I'm going to hit Diamond this year, then Challenger the next year. Also wasting hundreds of games playing meta champs or champions I thought were broken. That's from Elia.
That's a big one. Look, I'm going to just speak from what I've seen, is that a lot of people think that they can set these crazy goals and they're okay. They're not emotionally attached to them. I've just seen so many people crash and burn from setting these goals, whether it's like, I'm going to get this rank, this split, or, and they're really ambitious, and then they fail, and then they just get so down about it. And then they just really, or they feel the time pressure. It's like, oh my God, there's only 1 month left and I've still got to get 4 division on and they just start focusing on the wins and losses. Now, I am a big advocate of goals. You do got to have goals, but I think for certain personalities, you got to be honest with yourself. Are you someone that can handle goals or not? I think certain people do need to just double down on the process, double down on just the details, and let the score take care of itself, if you will. But some people do get excited about goals. Some people can manage those kind of, that use it as fuel and underlying motivation. Other people can't. And you got to be very intelligent about this. I just don't think having these ambitious goals is good for everyone. It can be good for some people.
Absolutely. I think it varies. For example, I think a lot of the, in our last episode 200, they're also they talked about they're more driven by the process. And I think specifically, who was it?
Eleanor,
also from the MLA. He was in the top.
Oh, yeah. Underqualified.
Yeah, qualified.
Sam.
Qualified, yeah.
It's qualified Sam.
Yeah, so I think that... where this also comes from, Curtis, as well, is people... They don't really try to put effort into climbing. They've gotten a rank and they think that once they start trying, that's why they're allowed to set ambitious goals. Because I didn't try before. Now I'm trying or buying coaching or, in our programs.
Yeah,
or
that's another one.
Then they're like, oh, okay, well, if I got to Emerald without really putting effort, but... they actually were putting in effort. I feel like that they didn't realize that they actually were still.
Yeah.
Now I'm putting in effort. So now why not? Why can't I just say I'll be Challenger? I was really confident in myself, Yeah,
it's a very slippery slope. It can become a very slippery slope.
Did you just do one or did I do one?
Nah, I think you did one. I'll just go to another one. There's a lot of similarities. There's a lot here about spamming games, poor process. Look, I will say there are some here. I playing a specific champion. So one here is playing Talon from Milk Puddle.
Yeah.
And there was another one playing Aphelios.
Yeah.
I have noticed that people have got these massive regrets of playing a specific champion for
long period of time.
Okay, so this one, I'll just speak about this one here from Megan. I think the only regret I'd have in my journey was playing 18 months of Aphelios.
Wow.
While he taught me an enormous amount about positioning and right clickmanship. That's a cool word, right clickmanship.
We'll steal that one.
Yeah, it's a good one. I think I would have been better served by funneling experience into a simpler champion to pilot. And,
I couldn't even imagine that. 18 months of the Fearless. How did you do that?
I don't know how people do this. I've seen so many stories like this. It's incredible.
It's like the hardest champ in the game. One of the hardest champs in the game.
Yeah, I've seen people sink hundreds of games into champions and they have no success with it and they stick with it. It's crazy to me. It's really it's honestly impressive. It's really impressive. So I think what I would take away from this is that there is no, and again, I'm just going to say it outright. You just should not start with complex champions. You're not going to be a worse player from playing a simpler champion. It's, if anything, is literally the other way around. And that is such a...
What's the quote? I'm not going to learn the game properly. I'm not going to learn the fundamentals properly. What's a champion that can teach me the fundamentals the best?
Oh, or I want to learn the champion that I love now. But it's okay to learn it later on. I sound like a broken record with that one, but it's just massive. It is just absolutely massive. You know? So I love it.
We've got Andre here. This is a great one. My biggest mistake is not realizing how important your own well-being outside of the game and all other stage 4 issues until I started watching your content. Basic ones like sleep, understanding that there's levels of focus in the game.
I mean, stage 4...
You cannot be focused because of distractions from, lack of sleep, health.
I mean, stage 4 in general, I think that might be one of the biggest... Our biggest contributions in the BBC to the actual league community, the idea of stage 4. And time again, week by week, coaching session to coaching session, I am absolutely bamboozled sometimes with how impactful stage 4 issues are. It's mind-boggling. It's absolutely just crazy. And just the simple recognition that, you know what, maybe there is something else at play here that isn't just directly tied to my gameplay that is altering my performance here. Just that simple idea. It's incredibly important. And I think that, just imagine if you have that at the start of your journey, that the idea that is a thing, you're going to save yourself hundreds and hundreds of hours of just pissing away time. Love it.
All right, I think that should wrap that up. So lots of great ones
really
there.
awesome.
Again, if you're not in our Skool community, there'll be a link in the YouTube description to join up. It's free to join. Yep. Mailbag time.
Yep.
Away we go. Welcome back for Nathan's Mailbag. Jingle song. Alrighty then. Our first question here comes from Dest. The title of this one is Soltu, an MLA member, feels lost after lethal tempo removal. This has been a hot topic. In the community recently. Hello, most esteemed Nathan and Curtis. I've played this amazing game since Season 1, learned a lot about the self-improvement journey and had a ton of fun. However, due to some of the recent changes Riot has made to the game, I feel completely lost. For some background context, I played this game steadily in Seasons 1 to 9, where I reached Diamond on support and later Diamond with Trinimir and Jack's top lane. After I got a bit tired with the state of the game, and at the same time I had to prioritize my career and family for a few years. After 4 years, I came back to the game and found a podcast which completely reshaped my view of the game into one of wonder, curiosity, and appreciation for the complexity of League. In Season 13, I decided to put down my old champs in top lane and ended up playing just about everything, including all the new champs which had been released in the last 4 years of my absence. But eventually settled on choosing Yone mid as my primary role and Marseille jungle as my secondary role. As a former Diamond player, I was struggling to win even in Gold 4, but through the BBC, I learned to accept my level of play and respect the difficulty of role and champ switching. I joined the Mid Lane Academy and thought that I learned Yone. Shout out to Coach AJ. After 200 games of Yone, I achieved Platinum, highly enjoying myself along the way. With my jungle account, I learned Master Yi through Soul 2 and got to Emerald, which was also a great experience. Honestly, in all my years of playing League, since Season 13 was absolutely the most fun, and it's a big thanks to you both. Thanks for helping me reach new heights in my new roles, and thanks for clearing up many negative views of the game and ranked that I had built up over the years. Seriously, you are all amazing, and one of the biggest reasons why I loved this game again. In Season 14, I wanted to continue the process with Yone and Yi, but I had to prioritize work for a few months. I wasn't able to grind ranked, but I still kept up with the BBC. MLA and Soul 2 communities and played a few normals every week. When my work got into a better place in mid-April, I came back to the game and started playing ranked again. However, a few months earlier in 14.4, they nerfed Lethal Tempo, which changed the feel of both champs, but especially Yone. So I was trying to readjust, but then Riot decided to remove the keystone entirely. Lethal Tempo added a lot to Yone and Yi's kit due to the synergy with their Q abilities, and Lethal Tempo also fixed some core issues I had with Tryndamere and Jax's itemization, which made playing them fun again. Now I'm at a spot where literally all the champs I love to play, Yone, Yi, Trynd, and Jax, have their keystone removed. Over the years, I've tried the bruiser variations of Tryndamere, Jax, and recently even stuff like Hullbreaker, Yone, but I hate the playstyle. With the removal of Lethal Tempo, but nothing to take its place, literally all my champs feel like shit. I've tried the Grasp and PTA builds with them, but the entire champion's identity feels different. I don't pick Yone to Grasp, to go Grasp and Hullbreaker. I pick Yone to do crazy outplays and tons of damage. Going all in as Yone with PTA feels so less exciting than doing this with Lethal Tempo. Even the win rates don't spell out a dire situation for these champs. They feel very off to me. I'm considering quitting League for a while until Riot fixes the melee carry class again. I'm guessing Riot will likely tune damage and cooldown numbers to fix the win rate of these champions, but it won't fix the feel. I'm trying to change my champ pool and experiment with other classes. I'm trying to love this game again, but so far I can't find the magic. Being a Season 1 player, I've got a lot of games with a ton of different champs in every class in the game, but always gravitated towards melee carries, and that meant I entered ranked with the champs I felt the most fun. Now in 14.10, I feel lost. Do you have any advice? So Master Yi, Yone, his two main champs, what he got success with in the last year, Lethal Tempo, bum.
I'm gonna. I swear I've seen this question before. I can't remember where, but I'm gonna give a different response. I think I could be completely off here. What was his name?
Dest.
Dest. I could be completely off here, Dest, but I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that I actually think it's a bit of a defense mechanism. I think what happened, he had such an amazing season 13. And he was so excited. He had like this beautiful process. He was climbing. He was improving. He knew what he had to do. He's having fun. And most importantly, he knew his direction, had a great feel for Yi and Yone. And come back to season 14 and they altered it, right? Things have changed. Oh my God, it's Lethal Tempo. And obviously, you had to adapt. Things are going to change. The numbers have changed. The feel has changed. And I actually think he's just pissed. I think he's actually subconsciously he was in a comfortable position. He knew what he had to do. He was having a blast.
Clear identity.
Boom, boom, boom. And then things have changed and he's blamed it all on Lethal Tempo. But in my opinion, it could have been anything. They could have changed the itemization. They might have left Lethal Tempo. I reckon it's just something to do with him feeling like he was on a high. He's on cloud 9 with where he was. He was saying how season 13 was the best, the most comfortable. Like he kind of knew, he was happy with the process, whatever.
And he wants to relive, that's his expectation now.
That's his expectation. He wants to get back to that. And it's not what it used to be. And so I think that he's gone from 100 to 0. He's super deflated. And he's looked for an excuse or looked for a way out, or I guess a reason as to why he felt like this. And obviously, Lethal Tempo did get changed, and I'm not denying that. But I think that he's over-exaggerating. And I think that there's a part of it, yes, he's genuinely disappointed in Lethal Tempo, but I think that it's massively exemplified because of this stark difference in terms of he knew what he had to do. He was comfortable and he knew what he had to do. Now it's not. He's in an unknown territory. That's kind of my 2 cents here. And I think that if your entire decision to play the game hinges on one rune changing, that means to me you never really enjoyed the game anyway. I'm just going to say it outright. I think that's bullshit.
Because he says that from watching this podcast, he was able to see the love, the appreciation, the beauty of the game. I think the beauty of League is the adaptation part.
It is. It has to be.
Yeah.
Because the game, if you've played from season 1, you've been through everything. I mean, the game has done a complete, it does a 180 every bloody 2 splits, right? Every split, right? So you need to adapt. That's part of the League journey. But you would have already realized that by now, surely. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you didn't enjoy the League, I guess you weren't familiar with the adaptation part of League, you would have realized that League wasn't for you already. That's why it doesn't make sense to me. That's why it has to be some stage 4 thing related to this season 13 versus season 14. Because if you were this fickle over the game, if all it took was just changing one rune that you're contemplating not even playing the game, then you wouldn't have liked the game anyway. You wouldn't have got to season 13
from season 1. I mean,
you're right.
Yeah,
you see what I mean? It just does. It doesn't add up to me. It's like, how can it? It's like, how can you go from season 1 to season 13 and one rune change, boom, I'm going to quit? It's just I can't reconcile that.
It is strange, isn't
It's
it?
very strange to me.
When I first read this email, you saying that at the beginning, I was like, that's completely opposite to what I was going to say. What do you think?
I mean, I could be wrong. But what do you think?
Yeah, but my initial reaction is, I mean, it sort of ties into your point as well. He got to Cloud 9. This game's awesome. Had great success. And the game will just never be the same to him again. And maybe quitting is... Like, he's not going to... I guess he's not going to find it again.
Yes.
No. And unless he accepts that, then I think that moving on from the game... But moving on from the game as a champion, as a player from season 1, you're not going to do it.
It just doesn't make sense to me, Nathan. Just listen to what you just said. He was having the most fun. He's super dedicated, buying coaching in 2 roles, played since season 1. And then randomly, out of nowhere, they changed one rune. And now you don't want to play. It just screams like there's some...
Because my thought was like he found his identity with the game. Melee, he's clearly a melee...
Trinimir's, by the way, as strong as he's ever been. Trinimir's in a really good position, by the way. I will say that. I don't know what he was referring, if it was or wasn't, but Trinimir is strong. Trinimir is strong now. I do know that.
The melee carry class is weak.
Melee carries are not weak.
Who are the melee carries?
I mean, if you think about top laners as well, there's a lot of top laners that are completely fine, right?
Yeah, but Darius and stuff, they're not a melee
carry.
Fiora?
Fine. Camille? Fine. Right? What else are you thinking?
Jax, Trinimir.
Trinimir's fine. Trinimir's in a great spot from what I've seen in solo queue.
Yeah. So it's literally just the rune.
So look, yes, it's uncomfortable, right? It's change. I'm going to just say something outright. League is a game, like you said before. League is a game of adaptation. If it wasn't Lethal Tempo, it's going to be something else. And maybe Lethal Tempo stuck around for another year. It was going to change eventually. All runes change in some way, shape, or form. Riot weren't even happy. Like what Froxon said, like with the runes. Runes are really outdated. You know, it's an awkward system for them to work with.
The reason they say it's awkward is because some champions just don't have a great rune. And other champs are just, the rune's so good for him, which is it's very hard to do that for 100 and whatever it is.
Exactly.
Champions.
And so, like, I think that you have to accept that this is the reality of the game. And I personally think that you need to have that tough conversation with yourself. What is it that really bothered you here? Like, is it really that simple? Is it just Lethal Tempo? I hate the feel of it. That's it. That was the only reason I played this exact feeling on these exact champions in this exact point in time. If that's it, then fine, so be it. You know, we're not keeping you. You don't need to play. We're not, you got to do you, right? Like, you got to play the game. It's your hobby at the end of the day. It's your time. But I personally think that you're highly likely over-exaggerating it. And for me personally, and I don't know if you agree with this, Nathan, I am 98% sure that he would fall in love with the game again with something else.
He's actually messaged me and I've given him the advice of just experiment, try and use the stuff that you've learned to learn these champions through our programs, to learn other ones. He said, like, Viego, I think, as well, in terms of jungle, he's in a fine spot.
No, Viego mid.
Viego mid.
Yeah, it's viable.
Are you serious? You're telling people to play Viego mid?
I got shit on by Viego mid the other day. Wow. It's hard as hell. It's really, really hard, but it's viable.
Yeah, I think he enjoys the melee carry class, and I think they're completely fine. I think that's what it is. I think we might be over-exaggerating Lethal Tempo. And Riot also as well, like, they will come round, you know? Like,
yes, Yone is in a pretty of a shitty position. Yone, I mean, it's viable, but Yone has been all a bit of... For the last... I think Riot haven't really known what to do with Yone specifically for the past year and a half, I'll be honest. I think they're lost. They really are lost with Yone. He's been up and down. changed every second, third patch with itemization. He is in a weird spot.
It's a mess.
It's a mess. They don't know what to do with him. So I will emphasize with that. Yone's a bit of a mess. But I think I'm 98% sure that if you stick with it, man, given your entire background and how much fun you had in Season 13, I'm 98% sure you will find something else that reignites your passion about the game and you'll get back into it.
I think if he sticks with it a year later, he'll look back on this and think how ridiculous it
exactly.
was. Yeah.
And that's why I think it's a stage 4 thing for me personally.
Yeah. Again, given his journey, if he was a player that played for like 3 years and just loved that, and then
I
maybe
agree.
Just quit the game.
Then just quit the game. Exactly right.
It's just because of his background.
Just for his background. Exactly right.
Things aren't adding up. All right, our next one here comes from Silhouette. The title of this one is Starting to Lose Hope. These are my favorite emails. I love it. Just starts with that. Losing hope, breaking rock bottom. This is what I'm all about. Getting into the details here. Hey Nathan and Curtis, here's a quick summary of my journey for context. I started playing League in early 2022, one trick in Aurelia, joined the MLS, which is now the Milan Academy, on the first opening ever and graduated in April 2023. Old Gold, which is now Plat, with Aurelia. After graduating from the program, I had my first major plateau. I decided to swap to Syndra and completely drop Aurelia since she is just too high maintenance and too difficult. Syndra has had a great impact on my journey. I peaked Emerald 1 with her in December 2023, just short of my goal that year, Sag. I continued one trick in her in 2024, almost the entire first split until about a month ago. In total, about 1,500 games of just Syndra. Way! I was desperate for a change and I started to learn Ari. I'm at about Platinum 2 level with her right now. So why am I writing this email? I have a few problems. Number one, I made a negative progress for the last 8 months. Despite learning Ari, I'm starting to lose my mind. Just because I've pissed away an entire split without making progress, as someone who has very high ambitions, I would like to play on a competitive team in some small European league someday. I'm 21 years old now, turning 22 in summer. I don't have time for experiences like that. I need to get better as fast as possible to achieve my goal. Number two, I have this weird stage 4 problem that I think is very unique. When I play League, I like to talk to myself. For example, I don't know where Enemy Lilia is. Drake is up in 1 minute. I will shove this wave, get ward out, then shove again and do Drake. The problem is that this happens very rarely, but when I do, my performance is through the roof. I know exactly what to do and have intention behind my actions. I feel like I'm always playing at 80% intensity, just autopiloting. When I know that I can play at 120%, I just don't know how to activate it, which is frustrating and generally speaking, not a good learning environment. Usually I am fine in the lane 1v1, but everything that is beyond that is extremely difficult for me. I've had the same learning objectives for the whole split and nothing has changed. How do you guys keep focusing on things outside of your lane without autopilot taking over? I really don't care if you unleash your flame at me here and give me a reality check, but I would like to get these problems fixed ASAP. Thank you for your time. Love the podcast and the work you guys put into it. Here's an OPGG look to diagnose the patient. Syndra, Ari. So we've got Ari, so far the split, 45 games played, and then Syndra, 29 plays. Ari,
he's doing all right.
53% win rate, and Syndra, 66% win rate.
Ari's actually a champion that clicks with a lot with some people and not so much with other people. Like Ari is one of those champions I found actually in my program where some people love it, they run away with it, they do a very good job.
I could see that.
And other people are just they just don't get it. They just don't get it. And that's just fine. You don't need to. Something that I feel like I want to talk about more is you got to use common sense. If you're 70 games with Ari and it's just not clicking, that's fine. Move on. Like I think that I think that, we definitely push the champ mastery thing. I get it. I totally get it. But is there a glimmer of hope or not? You should have, there should be at least, like, do you feel like you're even on the track to get it? Like, what I mean? If I'm on game 70, I can feel that things are starting to, I can visualize it. I can see. I know I'm not there
I have my
yet.
good games. I know what it sort of feels like. I have those games where I feel completely in control.
Yes.
You need to have those games.
It's like if you're 70 games and it's you're like clueless and you're like, I still have no idea. And I feel like I'm not even remotely close to where I need to be. I can't even visualize how to win games. Move on. Like you don't have to play that champion. So like, I think you really got to be honest with yourself, and you got to got to use some common sense here. Like, I can't look over your shoulder and tell you exactly what to do. You got to be engaging in some common sense here. Now, it seems like he's doing okay with Ari, right? He's doing okay. Whether or not he wants to commit with Ari or whatever, that's on you. But that's like the first thing that I would say. But before I go on, I want to hear your take here, Nathan. What screams to you?
Yeah, I definitely can see that Ari is one of those champs that just sort of clicks with people or doesn't. I really can't explain why. So I think it's the way they fight.
It's
right?
the way you fight.
And, really, I wouldn't even say really ultimate reliant, because your ultimate doesn't guarantee you're going to get. Like, you have to have really smart, good ults with Ari.
You got to be adaptable. You got to be very free flowing.
Like, it's, like I see Aries in my games, and it's like this player is just doing nothing with Ari.
They just don't
right?
get it. Yeah,
and it's very clear that that person, I think, is just gonna might never click with this champ. It just looks like it. It just looks so ugly and clunky. And then you see other Ari players who are like, wow, that's great. That's a lot of pressure. When I see this OPGG, and given that losing mine with Ari, and given that context with Ari's one of those champs, I would say, yeah, let's just champ pool cycle it up.
Keep Syndra,
and let's
just pick
drop
another
Ari and pick something else up. And
I
we'll
agree.
be rocking and rolling.
I agree. And in terms of the second part of the question, in terms of the like the focus thing, right? Talking to himself, like he's asked me this question. I don't know how to answer it. So basically, I'll summarize it for you, Nathan. Right? So imagine when you go in your block, right? You might have that game, and so the way he feels like when he's able to talk through everything, like, okay, I'm going to do this. Okay, dragon's coming up in a minute. He feels like when he's able to do that, he's playing at 120% intensity, killing it, dominant. He feels really good. But he can't do it every game. Like, he feels like sometimes he forgets, and he goes into autopilot in the mid game, and he stops doing it. And so he's like, how do I replicate that? How do I keep doing that? And I'm just like, I don't know how to answer that question. I'm like, just do it. Ask high quality questions in the LOL states and do it.
What are your reference points?
Yeah.
I think...
Like, how would you answer that question?
I think the real problem is that they're getting overwhelmed with information in certain points, and then they go to the autopilot. I think he's trying. and then he just it just gets too overwhelming.
So he kind of he gets overwhelmed, he gets stuck, and then instead of recalibrating, just stays in
those situations in the games where you just start plotting around.
Yeah,
you have an idea of your reference, but you're not close to an item, or you don't have your ult, and you're just plotting around the map. You don't really know what's next. I go deep in those moments.
Yeah, identify. Yeah,
because that's really what helped me level up to the challenger level junglers. I kept on attacking, get into those moments, and then figuring out in the review. I can't in that moment. I don't actually have the skill level to do I can just say I just have I'm intensity. What's next? Bam, bam, bam. It's just not possible. But you need to keep problem solving that in the review. And there will be clear identifying factors based on there's four people on your team, 5 people on the enemy team. There's a lot going on in every moment of the game.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. That's exactly, you're absolutely spot on. So what's happened, I reckon, you're really spot on, because imagine, it's okay, I want to use a metaphor here. I love my metaphors. I get memed on them all the time. But imagine you're in I don't know if you had this, in school when you had a math exam and you went question to question to question. Were you the type of person that if you couldn't solve a question, you would skip it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, I was not.
Wow.
I hated that.
You had a crack.
So I would sit there and I would waste so much time trying to figure it out. And I think that's
the way that the exams are usually structured, you sections, right? And it gets harder and harder. And then there's the easy one.
Yeah.
I'll go to the next.
I had a mental. If I can't solve this one, I'm screwed anyway.
Wow. I would just go that, because my mindset would be is I'll sack that. I know I would never get that, so I just keep getting more points. And each time I'll get marks, I'm like, yes, I'm progressing.
Yeah, I'm just an idiot, right? I'm emotional. So I think what he's doing, he's like, okay, this is part of the game. He gets it, and then something happens where he's unfamiliar with what to do. He's stuck. So maybe it's a chaotic moment. He doesn't know where to deploy on the map.
Usually it's actually not the chaotic moments. Usually when nothing's happening. We're just plotting around.
It could be, right? Yeah. Whatever, let's say insert, he doesn't know how to respond. And he's jammed. He's stuck. So instead of recalibrating, be like, okay, I screwed this deployment up. I know I'm in the wrong place. This feels like shit. Okay. That's what you need to ask. That's what you need to engage in okay, that was wrong. All right, I'll figure that out later. All right, what do I got to do? And you got to get back on the horse, but it's hard. You can get stuck, and then you lose the plot. You fall off the horse in his case, and he just can't get back on the bandwagon.
So I think he's confusing autopilot with getting jammed.
Yes, exactly right. No, because what it is, that engages the autopilot because you don't know any
Correct.
other better.
Yes.
So if you don't know what to do, you're just gonna your brain's gonna go on autopilot mode and be like, all right, well, just insert anything, like whatever your brain comes up with. So what you should do is exactly what Nathan said, which is in the review, go to that moment where you lost the plot. What was that moment where you felt stuck, you lost your focus, whatever you want to call it?
You're walking in circles.
You don't know where to be, you don't know what to do, you don't know how to respond, and then figure it out. What would you do next time and why? How would you had to have been thinking? What should have your mindset been, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's really, really good advice. Love it.
All right, our last question for today is from Sam. The title of this one is Stuck in Iron Elo Forever.
That's not good.
Hello, Nathan. I hope this email finds you well. I like how it just addresses me because it's my mailbag.
All right, and that's it.
Pack it in, Curtis. Curtis is done for the day. Clocking off early. I love League of Legends and love playing ranked. I have a background in playing CSGO and other competitive games. That's interesting. I enjoy how serious and competitive League is. The split just ended and I've played 12 games, going 9-3. This last split, I ended Iron 3. Attached is my OPGG for my last 6 games. I've gotten 11 plus kills with low deaths. High CS with having to shot call and basically run the game because my teammates didn't know what to do. I've been playing for 10 plus years since I was 12 and I got permabanned when I was 16 because I was extremely toxic. I recently got my account back and began playing again. So this would be my first season back. I ended season 6 Silver 2, and so far my experience in ranked has been pretty bad. My split 1 of this season was basically just me getting used to the game again. I played over 100 games last split. Last season I placed Iron 3 and got to Bronze 3, 97 LP. Then had a massive losing streak and ended up demoting all the way to Iron 3. I'm currently Bronze 4, 0 LP, and believe I'm stuck in Elo hell. I tried hard every game, yet my MMR is not changing despite my amazing performances. I've gotten multiple S's in my games, but my MMR is not changing. I have extremely easy games, and the game is just not fun right now. It's either I get hyperfed and carry the game and then win, or someone ints, literally, and I have to try and salvage my lead to try to win with teammates who barely know what is going on. I'm trying to take it one game at a time, but at this point I might quit the game altogether. Do you guys have any advice? Any would be greatly appreciated. I love this game. I would love to continue playing, but I really don't know what to do anymore. Also, I love your podcast, and you really helped me get better at the game. All right, so let's look at OPGG here. We've got 33 games played, and currently Iron 3. Yep, Bronze, been Silver, around Silver, Bronze. And we're an AD carry player, playing Jhin. Let's see what other seasons looks like. So let's go split 1 last season. Ooh. What the hell? Is this the same player? Wait, so we've gone from jungle to AD carry. Is this what you're saying here, Curtis?
Yeah, but barely any. Yeah, but the kind of games are all over the place. Not many games here, right?
Didn't play season split 2 at all.
No split 1.
Didn't play at all last year. Wait, we haven't played the game.
Handful of games here, not many at all though. Didn't play the game. Because he got permabanned, I think.
Oh, he's got permabanned. Okay, so he might be playing other accounts. Might have just come back.
Yeah.
You know, when I read this email, Curtis, like the big red flags here is, well, number one, obviously talking about like his rating at the end of the game, saying like S, how many kills he's got, and like whenever I hear someone, especially in this low rank, saying that they have games that are super one-sided, it's either they get hyperfed and carry, or it's the opposite. Do you know the problem is that in those games, you're just trying to do so much to compensate for your teammates are doing bad, but really you're actually inting the game flat out. You're having so many opportunities. You're just trying to do too much. Way too much. Your view of how to win these games is not actually the reality. Your focus is in all the wrong places.
Yeah, I'd even simplify it. You got to pick a role and you got to pick a champ.
Yeah.
You got to play the game.
Yeah, I'm going to play
So
the
there's
game.
three things. You got to pick one or two champions.
Yep.
They ideally have to be relatively straightforward and simple. Throw LeBlanc in the bin. Throw Yasuo in the bin. Don't touch them. Come back to them later. I want to see regular 3 blocks. Try and get as many regular 3 blocks as possible. And that's it. If you can do those 3 things, then you'll have a much higher likelihood of climbing. Outside of that, I mean, look, you really got to realize that, the elo hell doesn't exist. You really got to just embrace you got to be curious, man. Like,
there is no curiosity going here, Curtis.
No.
You know what is a huge concern? It's because he's been permabanned and he's extremely toxic. And the way that he talks about the game, I feel he's really angry playing.
yeah,
I can get that sense. He's a very angry player, very emotional in it. He's actually, his love for the game is actually hindering him actually here. He's too passionate. Like, he needs to relax, just chill out, play the fundamentals, get some farm, play to your champ identity, reference points, you can pick a champion. We actually need to just take a breath. I think that's what we need to be doing here.
And he's got a CSGO background or whatever it is. Look, I was trying to come up with some sort of like a CSGO metaphor. Imagine like you barely play. So let's say you play 3 ranked matches a week, and then on each of those matches you play a different map. You play different guns, and then you play different positions. Like, you're not going to get anywhere. You're not specializing in like a rifle or an AWP. You're playing a different map all the time. You don't even know the maps. You don't know the smokes. You don't know the grenades. You don't know, like, of course you're not going to climb, and you can blame that on teammates, but you just don't know shit, right? So the reality is that you are doing things that are contributing to the games. You just may not be realizing what they are, like as Nathan was kind of referring before. So keep it simple champs, get more reps in, and don't swap roles. Pick a role. And if you can do that for a few weeks, I think it will really, really help. Would you say anything else about this one?
Nope. Let's just turn it back a little bit. Let's not be saying that even this title of this emo so extreme, stuck in Iron Elo forever. You haven't actually been Iron Elo forever. You've been in Silver and Bronze. Our expectation, I think, is just, we're just not even doing the basics. We're not confused when people send us stuff like this. We can just break it down. It's not confusing.
Yeah, I think typically when you get this sort of email, it screams to me that they're really disrespecting the game.
That's right.
They think they can play casually, smash their face on the keyboard, show their CSGO golden, what is it called, global elite badge, and say, but here, look, I've got this. I can't be bronze. I can do whatever I want. No, that's not the way it works. League's a very different game. It's a very hard game, and you got to show it respect. That's really it, man. You got to show it respect.
All right, that wraps up today's episode, our first episode in the 200s.
Yep, in for the long haul.
I mean, episode 300's 2 years away, Curtis. It's about 50 episodes a year.
Yeah, we're going to be grandpas, man. We're going to look so different as well. We're going to have wrinkles, starting to get wrinkles and shit. It's not going to be good.
All right, I hope you guys are excited for the 200s era of the Broken by Concept podcast.
New meta.
We'll see you guys next week.